Rams house. You know who we rollin' with. Rams Buzz Podcast. Hit like, share a link. Whose house? Rams house. You know who we rollin' with. Rams Buzz Podcast. Home of the champions. Whose house? Rams house. You know who we rollin' with. Rams Buzz Podcast. Hit like, share a link.
Welcome to a special episode of Golden Ram Buzz Podcast with Damon and Sal. As you can see, I'm here with 2023 Fan of the Year, Sam Martinez, back from Las Vegas as we saw the Chiefs beat the nemesis San Francisco 49ers. Today our guest will be Hall of Famer, USC Hall of Famer, Anthony Davis, as well as 2022 NFL Rams Fan of the Year, Ramator, join us today. Also,
Awesome.
We're going to hear about Sal and his time in Vegas.
That was great. Had a great time. Like leading up to when people found out I was going to go to the Super Bowl, they're like, oh, what if you go to the Super Bowl and you have to watch the 49ers, win a Super Bowl? And I said, well, hopefully they don't win, but, I have Niner fans that are in my family and all, so I could have, take it or leave it, but it was kind of nice that, that the Chiefs won, at least for me. It'd be too hard for the 49ers to have 6 Super Bowls and tie them. They'd be tied with Pittsburgh and also the Patriots. So it'd be kind of hard for us Ram fans.
Now, tell us from the time you checked in, what hotel you're staying at to the time the game ended. What'd you do? Tell us everything, man. I want to know. I saw your pictures, obviously, but I didn't call you to bother you. But I want to know as soon as you checked in, what happened?
Yeah, so we checked in. We stayed along with the media at the Luxor Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were lucky. We flew out of John Wayne. And it was kind of interesting because, we were able to board. We were some of the first to board. And on that flight, I saw Derwin James from the safety from the Chargers was there. Yeah. And a couple of UFC fighters. So it was cool. So the, short flight, we checked in at Luxor. It was nice. I mean, I saw a lot of the fans of the year start pouring in. And it was a really, really cool setup. I knew that we were going to be there for 4 days. And so later on that night is when they had the NFL Honors Show. So that was one I really was waiting for. I wanted to see that. But it was cool being able to wear the, NFL Fan of the Year shirt and jersey and being able to walk around and, a lot of Ram fans that, saw me and, showed love and stuff. That was really cool.
Now, you saw NFL Honors where you saw NFL players this year. You saw Roger Goodell. Tell us about that experience.
Well, that was great. So leading up to the event, we had a couple of, we had like probably 6 Zoom meetings. So one, it was just the 32 fan of the years, and then Roger Goodell. So he kind of thanked us and talked about, the way the history, the history of the NFL, the way they put together the schedules and stuff. Pretty complex. So it was kind of cool. So he kind of broke the ice that way. And then at the honors show, it was nice just to be surrounded by, so much talent, all these, the red carpet, being able to see all these, athletes, walking, and Puka Nacua, Kobe Turner. It was really nice. Yeah.
Now, when did they announce the Fan of the Year? Like, who won the Fan of the Year?
Fan of the Year was a Green Bay Packers fan.
Okay.
But, so when it all started, started off with 61,000 fans.
What?
Yeah, so 61,000 NFL fans, and then it was reduced to 32. So I went from one of 62,000 to 32, and then when we went to, the Super Bowl, they were going to announce the winner. But, I think the actual voting for Fan of the Year was only going to be like 10%. So a lot of it was based on like charity and that type of thing. So the Packers fan, I think he generated, he's a comedian, stand-up comedian. And so I think a lot of the proceeds from his shows and stuff he donated. So I think he raised something like $500,000 for a children's charity. So, I mean, I don't know that anybody could compete with that. Yeah. But, I mean, it was a worthy cause, and that's exciting to see, someone go above and beyond. And, I was happy. I felt like, me representing the Rams, I was good. That was the main thing.
A lot of people have never been to the Raiders Stadium. Tell us about the stadium. Tell us about the atmosphere. What time did you get to the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. Tell us all about that as well.
Yeah, so we went to the stadium early. It was kind of nice because in Vegas, the proximity of everything was so close. So Vegas looks like a perfect venue for NFL Super Bowls because everything was closed. So, like I said, we stayed at the Luxor, and then right next to the Luxor, you had the Bay, and so at the Mandalay, that's where they had the Super Bowl experience. So the next day, we were able to just walk to Mandalay Bay and go to the NFL experience, and then on the day of the Super Bowl, it was pretty much walking distance. We just had to walk over the bridge. So it was probably, I would say, about maybe 15, 20 minutes from our hotel. We were able to just, walk to the stadium. As I was walking up, I looked at the stadium. I mean, it's a beautiful stadium, but it just looks smaller. I mean, we Ram fans are spoiled at SoFi Stadium. I mean, SoFi Stadium is like, I mean, it definitely is the epitome of what every NFL stadium would want to be. But it was a great time. I mean, every stadium is unique. This stadium was cool. I like all the black glass and stuff. It was really nice. So we got there early. We had to take some pictures and stuff. So we took pictures in front of the stadium, and then we were also able to go on the field. So we had to get there early, and so we walked onto the field, and it was amazing coming out of the tunnel, in another stadium. And so, I was standing there. I saw Christian McCaffrey warming up.
Wow.
I saw Kittle, walk by. And I was just standing there just, taking it all in. And it was amazing. The Niners end zone was right there. And I just took a picture of it. I felt like something special is going to happen in this end zone. And that was actually where the winning touchdown pass was thrown.
You witnessed history, Sal. You got to go to the Super Bowl and watch an overtime game live. That's only the second time in NFL history that this has happened, and they both involve Kyle Shanahan. One time in 2016 to play the Patriots, he was offensive coordinator. This time he was the head coach. How was that? I mean, just the euphoric of it. Was like with the build-up. Were you like, obviously you're going for the Chiefs, right?
I was.
Okay. Were you were you rooting? Were your hands like this, or?
Well, it was kind of hard because I would go back and forth. Because I have some family that are Niner fans.
Of course, I remember that.
Yeah, so they like the Niners, and I didn't want to rub it in, and I know how it feels, when your team isn't doing well. And so for me, I just thought I prefer the Chiefs to win. But then I started thinking, wow, I was so glad that, for us at SoFi, when we beat the Niners, we were able to, baptize SoFi Stadium with the Rams Super Bowl, right? So we were the first team to win a Super Bowl at SoFi. And then you look at the Raiders stadium, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, which are rivals, right? And so they come into your town, and then they win a Super Bowl in your stadium, right? So that would be hard to take, if you're a Raiders fan. But it was cool wearing, a Rams jersey at the Raiders stadium on the Raiders field, and then, watching the Niners, come up short.
Now, the question I have, halftime, Usher, the setup, what'd you see? What'd you think about the thing? How long did it take to set up from your perspective? Because you're there, so you saw the behind the scenes. How did that?
Well, it's interesting because, being a season ticket holder at SoFi, we see a lot of the entertainment at SoFi. And I don't know, it just looked odd because at SoFi, as soon as a halftime show's over, it's like, the employees and everyone that's working on that show, they're quick to set everything up. At the Super Bowl, it looked like it was in slow motion. I was like, they're probably going to run out of time. It was really odd because they were wheeling out everything, and I was looking at Bree. I said to my daughter Bree, I'm like, God, it just seems slow. I said they're probably not going to be able to play or have much of a performance because it looks like they're going to run out of time. But once they got everything set up, and then Usher came out, and I thought it was a great halftime show. And I said to my daughter, I go, this is probably one of the top, halftime shows I've ever seen.
Now, I know you're getting your dance on, right? Were you doing the Usher dance?
A little,
Were you saying,
yeah,
I know. Behind the scenes, only you and Bree know. You're getting your dance on, huh?
Yeah.
Usher.
Well, it's hard to do the running man in your seat, though, but it's all good, But, one thing that was really cool, I don't know if you saw it on TV, but while we're sitting down, there was, like, dollar bills, like, coming from the ceiling of the Raiders Stadium, of Allegiant Stadium. It was really cool, and someone posted one. I think it looked like a dollar bill, and it had Usher's face on it. But it was cool. The lights and everything. You had the little
The blue.
yeah, it was like a little device where it would light up with the music.
Oh yeah,
But it
yeah,
was beautiful.
yeah.
The colors and everything. Yeah, the halftime show was absolutely amazing.
Now, did you eat the concessions at the Raider Stadium? How was the food?
Yeah, I did. It was actually fairly price decent. I think the food was pretty good. I had a slice of pizza, and but there was one time I don't know what was the cause of it, but I had to use the restroom, and the line was probably like from here to halfway to the middle of the street.
Wow.
There was probably no lie, probably 200 guys in line.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it.
Wow. You see that a woman's line?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I said. A lot of women were like, "Man, imagine the women's line." I don't know what it was or why it was like that, but so we were, I went to another restroom, and then some of the guys were saying, "Oh, that I guess they somehow figured it out," and then I guess the foot traffic started to flow better. But the stadium's nice, but I don't know. I think that from 1 through 10, I would probably give it a 8.
Okay. Did you gamble in Vegas, or you just strictly hotel? I mean, you don't want to talk about it, or
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
play
yeah.
poker?
No, I
did you come back
gambled,
with some
yeah,
money,
yeah.
Sal?
No, I didn't come back with any money, but I did gamble a little bit, and but it was funny because I was playing slots. I like slot machines, so played a little bit. I probably broke even, or maybe probably lost like $70
Okay.
total.
Hey,
But it was fun. It was fun.
hey, some people lose.
Yeah.
People going back
Oh,
from
yeah,
Vegas.
yeah.
Hey.
It was just interesting to see so many. It was crazy because, God, I would say the breakdown of the fan base was probably 70-30 Niner fans. All I heard for 4 days was bang bang Niner fans. And so for me, it didn't break my heart when they came up short. But one thing I will say that was really pretty awesome, you probably read about it also, was the 49ers, how they sent a lot of their employees to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So there was a group of a lot of Niner fans that had a little lanyard that said friends and family. I thought that was pretty impressive to send your employees to the Super Bowl. Yeah. So I didn't come home. I didn't come back to California with a trophy, and they didn't either.
Neither did I.
My name's Robert Bristow, owner of Value Tina's. We've been here for about 20 years. I've been the new owner for about 2.5 years. We're all about consistency, quality, and bang for your buck. We're located on Valley View in Lamson, 12385 Valley View Street. We open at 11, close at 9, 7 days a week. Welcome.
Join us today, 1972 All-American from USC, considered one of the greatest running backs in USC history. He was a part of 5 national championships, 2 in football and 3 in baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Anthony Davis.
That's a great intro. Yes, I was a member of the greatest team in USC's history. You'll get arguments with that.
Okay.
But I consider the 1972 Trojans as the greatest team in college football history.
Sure.
And I'll definitely get arguments with that. And the reason why I say because we were 3 deep in every spot. And what a lot of people don't know about my career is the fact that I was not the starting tailback in 1972 starting off. On the depth charts, I was number 3. And I got in there in the ball game behind injuries of the 2 running backs in front of me, Rod McNeil and Alan Carter. And my start that happened was in Eugene, Oregon, 1972, against the Oregon Ducks. And I was sitting on the sideline. Cold rain, it was raining up there, and it rains a lot up north. And so what happened was McNeil and Alan Carter got hurt. So I remember vividly John Robinson walking down the sideline. And he was like he was a little disgusted because they're going to put this young sophomore in and not knowing what I was going to do in the cold rain. And it was 0-0. So he walks to me and says, "Anthony, you got to go." I said, "What are you talking about?" So Alan Carter and Rod McNeil, it's hurt. You have to go. So I walk on the field. Mike Ray was the quarterback at the time. Charles Young was the tight end. Sam Cunningham, the footed fullback. Lynn Swan, the flanker. And we're in the huddle, and Mike Ray barks off the scene. And back in those days, we had a thing called G and Haw. Where was if it's Hall, it was to the power side, was to the left. That was Charles Young, tight end side. We go G, he flips over. So he goes Hall, 48 toss left. I said, hell, that's me, the first player. I'm hopping. It's cold rain out there. And he said, get in we got to coach. So Hall, 40 toss, 48 pitch left. He barked off the signal. We rolled left. He tosses the ball to me. 48 yards, first touchdown. Was a touchdown. First play.
Wow.
And as I was running, I felt, you know, I'm going to pop something because didn't warm up, didn't stretch.
Wow.
Pre-game.
Yeah.
I had to get in there.
Cold weather, too.
That was it. So got that. Went back to the sideline. And so I think Dan Fouts was driving the team. And they fumble at our 45. I'm back on the field again. We're back on the field. We're in the huddle. Mike Ray says, Hall, 28 pitch. That's me again. That's a terrible call. I'm going to definitely blow my hamstrings out. He called it out. Took the pitch. Got a great block from Charles Young. Got a great block from Sam Cunningham. Cut across grain. Udell Garrettson, the fastest guy on the team, carries me to the end zone, 55 yards in a row. That was my second touchdown. Unbelievable. So I go back and I'm huddled. I said, I'm glad that was over. Because something's going because when you get playing cold weather like that, you're not warmed up. Anything can happen. And so, make things short, I rushed for 205 yards on 25 carries. We won 18 to nothing. We could have easily lost that game, because SC's always had problems when they play the Ducks up north. It's a weird thing. Any of those got Oregon State or Oregon, and so that was a phenomenal team. We had so many guys go to the next level. Charles Young was the number one pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. We had Pete Adams, our left tackle, was the number one pick to the Cleveland Browns. We had Sam Cunningham, was the number one pick to the New England Patriots, and then some other people after that came. I was drafted 2 years later by the Jets, and Steve Riley was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. So we had a great assemble of players that went on and was very successful. But whenever I talk about the 72 team, or people talk about the 72 team, you know, they're in the top five. I say, we're number one. I mean, you can pick who you want, but that's the number one team. Like I said, the depth was unbelievable. I've never seen a depth of football players with that much talent in SC history anywhere else. I mean, there's been great teams, the Miami teams, the Florida State teams, and stuff like that. But overall, that was the guess, because we were deep in every position, and a lot of us felt felt guilty because we didn't feel that we weren't worthy of it, because those guys were just as good as we were. So in my case, it was a guy behind me that could have stepped in.
My question is this. You're known for one of the greatest comebacks in USC history. Sal, obviously I wasn't born to witness it. Let me come from your perspective.
Yeah.
I believe it's Notre Dame. USC wins 55-24. Tell us about that game and what happened. And Sal, you described what you saw. I'm sure you watched it when it happened. So.
Well, I mean, USC back then was they were a powerful team. But Notre Dame, when they jumped up, on the Trojans early, a lot of people thought the game was over. But I'll never forget they talk about the halftime speech and all. And I remember when they first came out, being able to score a touchdown on the kickoff, that was pretty interesting.
And who did that? Him?
Yeah, AD, yeah.
Tell us about
He's like the original AD of Los Angeles.
Original AD.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened, what transpired.
Well, let's go back before half. We were down 24-0, 1.5. And I remember on the sideline, Coach McKay was giving Hayden a series of plays to call. He had 3 plays he gave him, and he didn't refer to the sidelines. Hayden had it in his head. So he called the play. The first play was called G, 91 pass left, and he had 3 options to go: John McKay Jr., Sheldon Diggs, and then me. Okay. So he went through his reads. So there was me. So he dumped it, flare pass, I scored, make it 24-6. Okay. Himihalu, the kicker at the time, Chris Himihalu, missed the field goal. 24-6 going in. And so I got a cut here on my hand.
I see the scar right there. Yeah, there it is, right there.
A lot of people thought that I was bleeding and cut a vein. They were concerned, so they wrapped it up. So I missed the halftime talk with the defense on one side and offense on the other side. So when they called us all up, McKay was there, and it was concerned and stuff. How are we going to come back against this strong Notre Dame game? Mm-hmm. So he's pacing back and forth. He says, gentlemen, we've been in a situation like that 10 years ago, 1964, what it's called, verdict to Sherman. And they were down and said, we were down 17-3. If we can come back, if they came back and won 20-17, we can come back. When he said that, simultaneously, everyone in the locker room said, this man's lost his mind. There's no way
definitely.
We're going to come back off the top 5 team, one of the top 5 teams in the country, offensively and defensively. There's no way we're coming back. There's no way we're going to come back on this team. Mm-hmm. I mean, not the way he was thinking. I mean, we were down 24-6 against the great, strong Notre Dame team. And so he goes back and forth. He says, if someone in the room here has to make something happen. And I tell this story to people all the time. He says, out of just the blue air, he goes, they're going to kick the ball to Davis, and he's going to bring it all the way back. I said, this man has lost his mind. That's not going to happen. Wow. And so the refs came in and said, it's time for it to go out. And so, and they wanted to keep us apart because they didn't want anything in the tunnel happening, because the year before we got in a brawl with Notre Dame back in South Bend, so they didn't want that to repeat itself. So what happened was they were still concerned about my hand, so I was the last guy out. And Notre Dame was following me and the trainer. And somebody yelled out and says, we're going to kick the ball to Davis. We're going to kick his ass. Right away, from my experience from the streets of Pacoima, California, where I'm from, you're gonna kick my ass and my teammates. So I really didn't know what to think. So I ran on the field and I told the guys I had a great kick return team, and in my wedge I had Mosi Diputu, Ricky Bell, Steve Kinlan, and we had Bernard Tarbert, Ricky, and I, just thinking about that, it's sort of emotional because you're talking about some guys that are no longer with us. Ricky and Mosi's gone. Steve Kinlan's gone. And I just said, listen, if we're going to lose this game, let's make it respectful. Let's come out fighting. That's what I told them. I just want you guys, if they kick to me, I want you to just block one guy, and I'm trying to get the best field position I can get. And sure enough, they teed it up. I said, these guys are going to really kick it to me. Wow. And so when he kicked it, the guy had a strong leg because I actually went 3 yards deep, and I fielded it 2 yards. And I remember making that burst to the middle. I saw a lane to the left, and I saw the flag. And I just kept my eye on that flag. And I knew they were coming. They had a great angle on me. 102 yards. And that's when it started.
Now, how many TDs did you score that game? You ended up scoring 5 touchdowns that game? I
scored 4 touchdowns and 2-point exit points. And what happened was the 102-yarder that turned everything around. And what's phenomenal about that game, the two powerhouses in the country at the time, is that when that happened, we scored 49 points in 17 football minutes. Wow. It just unbelievable. It was
I have a question for you. Now, all that fast running, you scored 11 touchdowns versus Notre Dame in 3 games, I believe. That's the record, I believe, right? 11 touchdowns. Right. What shoes were you wearing? Low tops, high tops? What shoes were around there?
It must be the shoes. Huh?
What shoes were you wearing?
Well, 11 touchdowns. The first 2 games against the 2 games of the 3-game series, I wore Rydell's.
Oh, okay.
Nike was pursuing me in my sophomore year, but they didn't have no kind of marketing, no kind of anything. They only had a guy. They only had a guy by the name Steve Prefontaine track.
Yeah.
And they wanted to introduce the football through me. They thought, they thought I'd be the perfect guy for some reason. And so a guy by the name of Nelson Ferris, who was still there, He's 81 years old, and he's the
Wow.
oldest living employee for Nike. He's the one that designed and developed the shoe for me, and he studied my running style. And he developed a shoe he called the Astro Grabber. And what had happened was, the week of the UCLA SC game, the national TV game, he came on campus trying to pursue me, and they didn't want him around me anyway because people were coming at me. So we were wearing Adidas and Rydell. But this new shoe called Nike, he said, look, you have to wear the shoe. So I said, look, he said, can you talk to the coach? I said, I could talk to the coach. So I went upstairs. I said, look, let me go talk to Coach McKay. So I went upstairs, and his secretary's name was Bonnie. I said, Bonnie, is where I could talk to Coach? He said, well, hold on, let me see if he's in his office. So he went in there, and Bonnie says, AD, you can go in, he wants to talk to you. So I went in there, and I told him, I said, Coach, I said, you remember those shoes you made us take off in 1972? He said, yeah, the ones that crap. He says, I said, yeah, well, guy's back. It's a nice shoe, and it's better. He said, you can't wear those shoes. I said, well, Coach, you know, I said something crazy that I probably never said. You know, black people got bad feet, flat feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I knew there was some crazy BS story and stuff. So he walked back and forth, and he says, okay, you can wear the shoe, but let me tell you something. No white shoes. He thought anybody that wore white shoes were hot dogs.
Wow.
So that's how. So see, you know, he has to paint them black. And in those days, he just made them things, you know, and he colored the shoes with a marker,
Wow.
a Sharpie, a felt pen.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I go downstairs, and I says, Nelson, I can wear the shoe. He was so happy. He went out and he came back the next day with 2 pairs of shoes.
Wow.
He had them painted black and let the little white swoosh stick through. Mm-hmm. He gave me one for practice and one for the game. So my teammates on the team said, man, what kind of shoes you have? What is that? Now, that was a joke, you know. But the beginning of our relationship, UCLA, 1974, SC versus UCLA, crosstown rival, ABC game. And so we destroyed UCLA that day. So I rushed for 195 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
And on the second play of the second quarter, I break O.J. Simpson's career rushing record in the shoe. That was huge up there. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, and I've heard all kind of rumors about Phil Knight and what happened. I think they took their crew up north, took them to McDonald's and celebrated with Big Macs and champagne.
Wow.
So I don't know how true that story is. You know how when you have some legendary stuff, it just grows different directions. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happened. And then, of course, the next week, Notre Dame, the shoe on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Being the first athlete with the Nike shoe on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Wow,
that's
amazing.
the story.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. Instead of having Air Jordans, where's your Air Davises at?
They don't have them. But the thing is, when I was with the Rams, Nelson developed another one, a high top shoe, a 14 ounces. It was 14 ounces with the shoe. It was beautiful, a white and blue shoe.
Wow, high top too.
And I don't know why I didn't keep them. Those things disappeared.
Wow.
Your coach for the World Football League was Tom Fears, right? Who was he was one of the 1951 LA Ram championship receivers along with Crazy Legs Hurst. So he was your coach with the World Football League. That was pretty interesting. I remember as a kid when they were trying to compete with the NFL. And so that's where you went first, right, out of USC.
Well, here's the thing I think what really upset the National Football League during the time. I was the biggest name coming out of college football that year, 1975. Mm-hmm. I mean, from a exposed player.
Yeah.
USC national champion. What had happened was you had me jump to the World Football League, you had Larry Zonka, you had Jim Kick, and you had Paul Warfield, and so those guys that came to the World Football League, they were all NFL guys anyway. Yeah. So what happened? They created a bidding war, which I don't think the owners this day don't like it as ones that are no longer here. So that was it, and then I went to Canada. Then I came back, Tampa Bay, and the Rams.
I mean, did you play for the Rams? How long did you play for the Rams for?
No, I was there almost a year, and that was it. But there's some controversy around with the Rams that we'll get into for the next time. And you guys will hear about it, but it won't be heard here.
Stay tuned, everybody.
But the thing is, back to Tom Fears, I became a complete player under Tom Fears.
Wow.
And my top three coaches in my career, period, my high school coach, Howard Marcus, John McKay, Tom Fears.
Wow, that's amazing.
The Hall of Fame. I was a complete player. He taught me my route running, because I had decent hands. He increased that, worked with me running inside and outside. Since I was a quarterback, he utilized my abilities as a quarterback, because I was a quarterback coming out of high school, not a runner. And so he combined everything, and I became a complete player with him. And he actually told some of the Ram folks at the time, when I got with the Rams, he says, what I understood he said was, use this guy this way, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
But it never happened.
And they didn't use you the right way because they didn't.
Never happened.
We would have had another Super Bowl. LA Rams would have been
Well, I don't know about that. That was a hell of a compliment from him stole on me. But he felt that way about my ability.
Yeah, that would have. It's amazing how, history. There's different, parts of history that prevented some things from happening. But for us, longtime Ram fans, that would have been nice to be able to, have a Super Bowl in that era. It was difficult.
Well, back in that era, like you were saying, Sal, back in that era, they had the great defense. That defense was amazing.
Yeah.
And just offensively, they could have done other things, but that was my opinion, and that was their opinion of Tom Fears. But because we had Vince Ferragamo, Pat Hayden, we had Cullen Bryant, Terry Nelson, Ron Jesse, Harold Jackson. Those guys, they were some of the best offensive players in the country.
And the offensive line was pretty impressive also.
You had Jackie Slater, who was a rookie, who blocked for the great Walter Payton.
Mm-hmm.
You had Rich Saul. You had Dennis Harrell. You had Doug Francis. It was all there. But it's all system and schematics. It's all system, and that's what it is. It's all systems and how they place you. That goes from then, it goes there for now.
Today, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
That's awesome.
Hall of Famer for USC, Anthony Davis. Google him, all you youngsters.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube and see what he did against Notre Dame.
Yeah. Notre Dame killer.
Yes, sir. Fight on!
Yeah, let's go.
Baby, located in all locations. With stateside, nationwide, take them back to Brad Bakery. Whole grain loaf, French baguettes, ciabatta rolls, regular rolls. You guys know you can't make a sandwich without bread, right? What are you going to use for your peanut butter jelly sandwich? You need bread. Why not take a break from the Brad Bakery? For all your tailgating needs, all your family holidays, your family functions, take a break with the Brad Bakery. At all retail locations in California and nationwide. You see the hat? You see the shirt? Podcast sponsor and tailgate sponsor, the Brad Bakery. Take a break. We'll see you at tailgate. Come on, who's house? Rams house. You know who we rolling. Golden Rams Buzz Podcast. Hit like, share a link. Who's house? Rams house. You know who we rolling. Golden Rams Buzz Podcast. Home of the champions.
Joining us, our special guest, Rams 2022 Fan of the Year, Ramator.
Awesome.
So we got the 2022 Fan of the Year, and we got the 2023 Fan of the Year, Sal Martinez, together on the podcast. Ladies and
At the
gentlemen,
Golden
this is
Ram
amazing.
Barbershop.
Yeah, super excited being here. Super excited.
Tell us your experience running for 2022 Fan of the Year. What led up to you getting voted and all that
You
stuff.
know, it is like an absolute dream. I mean, just to be here, sitting here, just next to Sal too as well. But it's just something that you wouldn't fathom being Fan of the Year. Just you're there, you're shell shocked. You didn't expect it, and you're representing literally just thousands of Ram fans. Not only at SoFi, but literally around the world. So it is a very humbling experience, and it's a lot of a pressure that it puts on a fan. When they strap on that jersey, and we have these little fan of the years because we become on the spotlight. But for the most part, I think having to run like me and Sal did, there's literally hundreds and thousands of fans that are running at one time, and just to be selected out of to a handful, and then from that handful just to be chosen, it's an honor. I mean, it's a miracle,
Definitely.
and it's a blessing that that we're here today.
It is. It is.
Come to think about it, you guys are both part of history watching the Super Bowl. You saw the KC Chiefs beat the Eagles.
Correct.
He saw the KC Chiefs go back to back for the first time since New England Patriots, I believe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience, and then we'll ask Sal about his as well. Tell me about your experience being out the Super Bowl, watching that game in Arizona.
Out in Arizona, that was, I think, a phenomenal game. Especially being geared up, just being that third wheel, but just to see the excitement, just the game just kind of went up and down, and it's like, oh my God, you would have thought, the tables would have been turned, but no, it's just. It's anybody's game, NFL. Even though a lot of people like to say, "Hey, you know what? It's rigged." Come on, it literally. I mean, we're talking about not hundreds, but thousands of people within the NFL network, football players that are going to go on ahead and give up their career. They can get hurt at any time during that game. So if they were to go on ahead and just rig it, and I mean, get a spinal, injury, they're done.
Yeah.
So there's not one single football player. If you guys actually believe that, NFL is rigged, or it's, I just saw one on my feed earlier today, it says, oh, it's like WWE. Come on, continue to watch WWE. NFL's a legit sport, and these players, don't disrespect them saying something like that.
Any questions for Ramator, Sal?
Yeah, I just think it's amazing when, for both he and I, when you're representing a fan base, especially in LA. I mean, there's a fan of the year for every city around the NFL, but Los Angeles has always been, special, and so to be, chosen out of, all the different fans in LA, to me, that's always been special. But it was nice to be able to, for he and I to have a dialogue, and so he kind of let me know what to kind of expect. And when I went through the experience, everything he said was right on point, but it was even more amazing when you experience it with yourself. And for me, to be able to, share it with my daughter, take my daughter to the Super Bowl, that was amazing. We got to spend 4 days together, and it was amazing meeting all the other fans, the other, you're amongst 31 other fans for the NFL, and so to me, I felt like I won. Just being able to, for the Rams to send us out like that was a tremendous, a memory, and one that, when the season started off, the Rams kind of went to that tough point. But I thought, man, I want to be a fan of the year when the Rams make the playoffs, and they actually did turn the season around, and we had a lot to be proud of. I mean, Puka Nacua, Kobe Turner, Steve Avila. It was an amazing season, and I just thought the whole experience was great, and I think everyone that voted for me, everyone that helped me, I just think that it was an honor to be able to be at the Super Bowl and see Ram fans, coming up and saying hello and congratulating me. I thought that was really, really nice. Something I'll always cherish. Yeah.
That's amazing. I have a question. People who don't know, you wear a costume.
Correct.
Show the costume to the camera who you are. He's at tailgates. You said you go to schools and you work with autistic kids. Let the people know.
Correct. I didn't wear it today, but that's the helmet. I mean, it gets beat down every single year, and for the most part, I can tell you, a lot of these kids that go to like the tailgates, the games, or schools, or any type of charity events, I participate in. You think that would be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
But no, actually, the kids see me, they run up, and it's I feel like I'm kind of like Rampage, big fluffy mascot, and everybody wants to hug up on you.
Sure.
But no, it's to wear this. It's a lot of responsibility. Everybody's looking for the flaws. The get yous. I got you. And it's not about that. This whole costume, this whole conception, it's just an extension of my fanhood.
Right,
Just like
right.
this is,
Yeah.
the shop here is an extension of Sal. I mean, it is such a privilege. When I put this on, that responsibility comes at a huge cost because when I'm out there with the kids, and they're autistic kids, and kids that are disabled, they get bullied, and I'm kind of like the voice for them, through social media or when I'm standing at these events, and or I'm walking a 4K walk. It can be, I do, a walk for the 4K walk for life, for cancer. People just gather around, but it's look, either you have the heart or you don't, and that's what I do, So when I strap this on, it's not because I'm strapping it on to try to, be that bigger, better fan. No, I'm strapping it on because I'm representing, a whole culture, of disabled people, even, I have a small little plaque that's hanging in that was given to me. I think it was by Orange County Times or Register or something like that. And it says, "I'm here for the little guy." If you ever see that and you read that article, it's exactly what it is. So wherever I go, even when I went to the Super Bowl, I have people that just come up and they'll go, "Hey, that's Ramator over there." I'm thousands of miles away, from LA, and it's, people just gravitate to you. And even if it was Eagles and like KC, their fans were still taking pictures with me, even at the stadium, even with 49ers. Regardless of, we go through our little banter back and forth, it's just a rivalry, you guys. If you guys, hop on and you guys see, my little posts and stuff, it's all in good fun. I really don't mean it because overall I love football and it's just bantering back and forth. But, let's be honest, they come to our stadium and I get, fans that might say something. And I have a lot of San Francisco 49er fans, believe it or not, that are actually followers. And so when their kids come up, they come to me and they take pictures with me. And when the fans, we'll get some drunk guy come over and he'll say, "Hey, I want to hit me or something or push me." Their fans actually attacked them. That was funny, because even, remember our playoff win against Frisco? They had, they had the walk of shame with the elevators.
The Niners,
the Niners, right?
The championship game.
Yep, championship game. Well, on that one, it was kind of funny because as they were leaving, I was celebrating in the lower decks, and I had one guy who actually kind of like pushed me,
Really?
kind of into the stands, going down, and bunch of SoFi securities running because I'm actually the wrong person to push at SoFi. I'll be very honest with you, And the fans just came up, and 49er fans just got that guy and just shoved him up against the wall. And the sheriffs kind of like pushed him over to the side and just rallied him on out. So, I mean, it's just this here it's a costume, guys, okay? What's in here, that's where the reality comes in. And if you got it, the love comes out. We're Hollywood, This is what this whole getup is. It's Hollywood. And it's just trying to prove it, to be bigger and better, but I'm doing it bigger and better for a cause. So, I'm honored. Even being here with Sal. This is an honor for me because Sal's a long-standing fan. And that was one thing. When we talked, before the season, and I told you, hey, you know what, Sal, this would be great opportunity for you to run because people need to know the story of the Golden Ram. They need to know who Sal Martinez is, and that was a blessing that. So many fans at SoFi that thought this is what it is all about. It's about wearing a costume. It's not about wearing a costume. Fan of the Year is the most difficult thing to get into because they're looking at a bunch of criterias. Not only your personality, because you got a great personality, a great smile.
Oh, look at him blushing, lady.
That's really, thank you.
But it's a story. People want to know, about your fandom. It's not all about, how much intellect, how much stats you may know, and, how many trophies or, autographed, shirts you got. It has nothing to do with that. They want to know what makes you unique, what makes you that unique fan that stands out of everybody at SoFi, and they want to hear your story. The story of Sal was something that people needed to know. Wow. And that's why I said, hey, you know what? we had an opportunity to speak. I called the Rams too, same thing. Said, hey, you know what? This is a guy that people need to learn about. Now, yeah, he's the Rams have they brought the trophy and they've all seen it, but it's still they didn't know the story, and that's what they needed to know. They needed to know the story. So anybody that plans on running, just like we did, it's not about your costume. It's not about what you own, but tell us, what makes you special. What's your love of the team? That's what we want. That's what the NFL's looking for. We as fan of the years, it's a fraternity, and it's a fraternity of fans, not a fraternity of finance, of property, wealth, trophies, shirts. Has nothing to do with that. LA is a city of love, and the Los Angeles Rams, we're a tight community family, and that we can go into through the whole stadium, say hello to people, and we call each other Ramily. There's a purpose for that. Then that meaning is not light, and I never take it as that light. So when I see our fellow teammates, and I call them teammates, but fans that are out at the stadium, I call them Ramily. It's with love, because you guys are an extension to the Los Angeles Rams, to our fraternity, and I'm grateful to be there. I'm grateful for you to be part of our family.
Thank you.
No, it is special. Yeah.
Let
definitely.
social media know where they can find you, like on your IG and all that stuff, so they can.
Yeah, I promote my IG, and that's Ramator, Ramator NFL. Hop on, see what I'm about. You got pictures with me or with your kids, or you got kids that are autistic, hey, pop them on, put their gear on. I promote it. I always, I have love for those kids, and if your school's got some type of event, you want me to come on down and bring some other super fans, hey, we'll be glad. I mean, I'm privileged to do something like that.
Definitely.
So that if that opportunity presents itself and I got that availability, I'm there.
Hey, once again, thank you to Ramator for joining us. 2022 Fan of the Year with the 2023 Fan of the Year, Sam Martinez. Thank you for joining us, Ramator.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for coming.
Whose house?
Rams house, baby.
Whose
Let's
house?
go. Rams house.
Woo.
Woo.
Cool.
All right,
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank you, sir.